Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hopefully you're doing well. And everyone, hey, welcome into today's program. We have a full hour of computer and technology news for you and lots of articles. Just at last count, we have about 20. Odds are we're not going to get to them all, but hey, we're going to do our best to, kind of usher in the weekend with a nice look at computer technology news before we go. And by the way, this is the first time I'm mentioning it. I should have probably mentioned it yesterday with Marcel Gagne, but Monday is, of course, Memorial Day, and Computer America traditionally takes Monday off. So for everyone, a heads up, there will be no live Computer America show on Monday. We will have a best of, probably play actually our Linux show. But overall, or it's either going to be our Linux show or our segment that we did on the dark web. So look, if you haven't heard of either of those, you're in for a treat Monday, but we will be back bright and early Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So everyone, just a heads up. Now, before we get started, first things first, computeramerica.com, or I should say second things second, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including the show notes for today, any links, articles, videos, anything that we talk about here on today's program can be found right there. If you scroll down a bit, you can see today's show notes, yesterday's show notes, and in fact, show notes for the past 10 shows. Yeah, I know, pretty exciting. Now, you can go ahead and check that out at computeramerica.com. Also, be sure to check out the live video stream at twitch.tv/computeramerica, or check out the archives at YouTube or wherever podcasts are heard. Simply search Computer America and we should come right up. Just that simple. All right, everyone. Again, hopefully everyone out there is doing well. We should probably mention we're not going to do explicitly any particular story, but we want to, of course, pay homage to an internet meme that unfortunately passed away today. If you didn't hear, Grumpy Cat. Yes, that meme, a couple of years out, but of course, still such a young age for a cat to go. Unfortunately, passing away at the age of 7. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. I mean, just a lot of people really liked a lot of the content that featured Grumpy Cat, and it's just always sad to hear these these cultural. It's weird to call a cat a cultural icon, but yeah, I mean, hey, it made the rounds, made millions upon millions of people laugh, and Grumpy Cat, you will be missed. So there you go, everyone. Now, on that somber note, let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news, and that is, of course, brought to you by Computer America. Now, lots and lots of different stories. I think we're going to start with this one. This one, kind of piqued my interest because it's a major underpinning of the internet to have web addresses. If you go to computeramerica.com, you enter Computer America, our website. It's great. That's the basis of a lot of commerce. If you type in google.com, you go to Google, CNN, you go to CNN or what have you. It's quite obvious. That's what you count on the publications that have their domains, or you count on the publications to have their own domains. Well, enter this article from BBC, and just pretty surprising, but not the first time we've heard of something like this. American man accused in $9 million net address theft. $9 million. Yeah, pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and of course get started here. So, an American man has been accused of stealing net addresses with worth more than $9 million. Yeah, pretty crazy. So, of course, Amir Golistan of South Carolina, wow, not too far from home, is alleged to have tricked an organization that controls some net addresses into handing them over. Oh, goodness. In total, Mr. Goldstein won control of more than 750,000 addresses. Wow, one person, 750,000 addresses. The addresses are valuable because the large pool of them used from the early days of the internet is coming close to running dry. That's right. For those you don't know, if you want, let's say, a website for your business, finding really short .coms or .orgs, we're of course very, very happy with our Computer America, to highly recognizable words kind of slammed together. Not a lot of those exist anymore. If you want plumbing.com, or if you want lighting.com, or something that is short, simple, sweet, it's very, very hard to find something like that. You are going to start seeing, especially in the coming years, a lot of website services that are going to have essentially phrases like, maybe best lighting South Carolina or something like that, all crammed into one address. It's a bit cumbersome. It's still memorable, but obviously it's not ideal. Now, here's what happened with the actual case, and this is the U.S. Department of Justice. Yeah, don't want to mess with them. Claims that Mr. Goldstein fraudulently won control of the net addresses by using many different shell companies. Okay, so looking like the right place, right time, and doing so in the wrong way. It alleges that he created websites for fake companies and invented the names of people who purportedly ran them as part of his scheme. Mr. Goldstein was charged with 20 counts of wire fraud in a U.S. court this week and has yet to respond to BBC for a request to comment. The net addresses were handed over to Mr. Goldstein by the American Registry of Internet Numbers, or ARIN. Obviously, ARIN is not the largest distributor of addresses, but they are one of the largest. The largest would be, of course, I think, not CERN. Is it IEEE that divvies up web addresses? But still, so they said that the net addresses were handed over. One of several regional administrators that dole out the few remaining addresses. It claimed that they were resold, allowing him to cash in. They said that Mr. Goldstein sued when ARIN refused to transfer control of the addresses. The day before the case went to court, ARIN claims Mr. Goldstein decided he would not testify and instead invoked his U.S. Constitution's Fifth Amendment. Good deal. This has everything. All the hallmarks of what's wrong with technology and copyright claim and address claim, and just clogging up our court system with frivolous lawsuits. Now, and of course, they said that it started a separate investigation when Mr. Goldstein, after he made a mistake on paperwork filed to claim a block of addresses. Among other things, this broad amendment gives the defendant the right to refuse the question that would incriminate himself. So it also gave ARIN the power to take over the net addresses Mr. Goldstein controlled. He must also pay about $350,000. Yeah, well, of course he has to pay the fees that Aaron, and that is again the organization that controls the web addresses. He has to pay their fees, and I'm sure he has to pay back the $9 million in net addresses that he stole, or at least he's going to give them up. So, like I said, there are companies out there that will sell you short, sweet, and succinct web addresses, but there are precious few left. And they're actually worth a lot of money. If you don't think that, insert a 5-letter or anything from like a 4 to 7-letter web address, there are so few left that $9 million. I found that very, very interesting. So there we go. And now there's that first story. Let's go ahead and move on to story number 2. Lots of different ones that we could, kind of move to. But I really wanted to get, let's see if I can find
Defense
it.
News. It's
and sorry about that. I found it. Okay, autoplay videos. Not my favorite. All right, so we're not going to do that one for sure. Let's go ahead and talk about, actually, this is a pretty big move. I didn't see this coming. I thought Cray was, had their own little sector of the market and they were going to be happy, content. If you don't know about Cray, we just talked about them last week, I think, when we were talking about the possibility of the first exabyte supercomputers. These computers are built by, in a lot of cases, the U.S. military, the Navy or the Marines or what have you, or they're built by large institutions and paid for by the government. Well, Cray is usually the first on the list when it comes to building supercomputers. Now, it looks like you are going to have to add HP in front of that because it just announced today, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, so their enterprise division, obviously, has a shiny new toy, where the information technology firm announced today that they will be spending $1.3 billion to acquire supercomputer manufacturer Cray. I found this really strange. And by the way, HPE, which is, again, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, is a business-facing spin-off of Hewlett-Packard, will instantly become a bigger presence in the world of academia and federal government, where Cray has a number of significant contracts. And like I said, when it comes to supercomputers, Cray is number one. Like, obviously, obviously, the internals of them, the processors and the processors, the hard drives, the graphics cards, all those kinds of things, they're made by Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, so on and so forth. A lot of the actual computer guts are made by other companies, but the ones to build the cabinets, the one to actually put it together, hook them all up, make sure they all work together make sure they're all synchronized and maintain them, that's where Cray really shines, to make these systems run together efficiently, quickly, and actually set them up. Because, hey, when you have 10,000 processors, and really think about it, your home computer has one graphics card and one processor, but then you think about these supercomputers and they have, thousands upon thousands of pieces of hardware that all have to operate together. Not easy, and not a lot of companies have that kind of expertise, but Cray does. So while they don't make hardware, they do put systems together. They said it will also enable Hewlett-Packard Enterprise to start selling supercomputer components to corporate clients and others. Makes sense, because obviously where the U.S. government and large grants given to research facilities are usually the only ones to build supercomputers, and everyone else would maybe kind of rent the space or rent the time on supercomputers. If Hewlett-Packard could offer the service to more and more companies, thinking of things like maybe Amazon, Apple, I'm sure Microsoft would probably want one or two. If these companies could have access to their own and HP could give them that opportunity, that would be a huge growth chance for Cray, who really just kind of bounces from government contract to government contract. Now, the Seattle-based Cray may not be a household name, but the company has been an essential cog in the world of data processing. The company is currently working with AMD on a U.S. government-backed project to build the first exascale computer. And of course, they're also working with a second project with Intel and NVIDIA to build the world's first 1.5 exascale computer. It's, or I should say, the first 1.5 exabit computer. And these things are incredibly powerful and can't wait for them to come online in the next year or two. Last year, Japan tapped Cray to create the world's fastest supercomputer to be used for advanced nuclear fusion research. And according to Top 500, a service that tracks the performance of supercomputer, Cray is responsible for 3 of the top 10 world's most powerful computers. Again, especially when it comes to HP, everyone always looks at HP or IBM or these companies that have pulled away from the consumer space and have been completely, or at least mostly, who have been mostly kind of enterprise facing. And they say, wow, they really lost their market share. Wow, they're really doing horribly. But then you see like Hewlett-Packard Enterprise just drop $1.3 billion out of nowhere and acquire one of the biggest names in such a niche market. They're doing well, even if they don't have the name recognition. They're doing super well. And as much as I like competition, I think at this point, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Cray weren't really competitors. It's more of a vertical integration. And if HP can bring this to more companies, hey, that's going to be good news for everyone. So good pickup there. And I agree with the article from Engadget. They definitely have a new shiny toy in Cray. There you go. Now, story number 2. Let's go ahead, jump right over into story number 3. And all you Amazon workers out there, I think last head count, there were only about 400 billion of you. So for all you Amazon warehouse workers out there, check this one out. You may recall last year or 2 years ago, I'm sure it's in the article, of course, that, one of their robots, unfortunately, who was picking material for packaging, bear mace. If you've never run into this stuff, it's potent because bears, turns out, can take a lot of pepper spray to the face. So it has to be super concentrated. It has to be super pressurized so that it can be shot 30, 40, 50 feet. Bear repellent and bear mace is really strong. And about a year ago, and by the way, the article does mention here from Engadget, Mr. Chris Holt is the author, saying that at the tail end of last year, an exploding can of bear repellent led to 24 workers being hospitalized. That's the incident I'm thinking about, where, of course, one of its robotic pickers crushed the can and exploded. And again, 24 workers were hospitalized. Now, what change do we see coming? Turns out, instead of getting rid of the people, they're getting rid of they're off-siting the dangerous materials. Of course, Amazon pulled thousands of bear repellent and pepper spray products from 30 fulfillment centers in the U.S. It stapled the packaging on the items closed to help prevent leakage, and it's handling bear repellent with greater care, saying that only humans will be handling these products and not robots. Luckily, not many people have the grip strength of a mechanical sorter. Now, also, they're holding manufacturers to higher safety standards. Some warehouses already have areas and rooms with sturdier safety measures, including fire-rated walls, where warehouses won't replace those entirely. Now, here's the cool part. The retail giant has already been working on fulfillment centers before the December incident. Amazon converted about an 80,000 square foot site in Virginia last year to make it more suitable for hazardous items. The first of 3 brand new warehouses dedicated to such goods is set to open in Mississippi in the next few months at 500,000 square feet. I never get bored of hearing just how massive these Amazon warehouses are getting. 500,000, 500,000 square feet. Their latest distribution center. And of course, even at 500,000 square feet, it's much smaller than the typical Amazon fulfillment center. But they will house flammable goods, oxidizers, aerosols, and of course, and have special sprinkler systems built in. Staff will receive training in how to handle spills, while deliveries from these warehouses will be handled entirely on the ground and not using planes. So obviously things that you order may take longer to arrive, but I think, I think that Amazon is perfectly happy with your bear mace taking a day or two longer if it means that no more of their people get hospitalized because because these products happen to go off. So it's good. Hey, I'm happy that Amazon has taken that seriously, and even though they were working on it before the incident, hopefully these incidents never happen again. There you go. Okay, story number 3, great. Let's move away from Amazon for just a moment, and let's switch on over to, because it's Friday, and hey, let's keep it light, just, go from light to heavy, light to heavy, light to heavy. How about this one? Article number 4, this one from Motherboard, of course, and saying that a teenager found a second Mastodon fossil on an Iowa farm in 30 years. Not exactly technology, but I still found it cool. The owners of the property want to keep their identities and location hidden for fear of fossil hunters, which makes sense. People have this urge that whenever they hear about gold somewhere, or they hear about fossils, or they hear about diamonds or something, they tend to rush out and say, the ultimate entrepreneurial spirit, we're going to go get some for ourselves. So probably a good move, but still very, very cool. Where a teenager searching for arrowheads on a family friend's farm in Iowa has found the fossil of a mastodon, an animal distantly related to the elephant and went extinct roughly 10,000 years ago. That's right. The fossil was a 30-inch long jawbone with some of the teeth still intact. It's believed to belong to a juvenile mastodon, which could have been about 7 feet tall. It's pretty big. And of course, before it died, and they said that the teenager stumbled across the fossil sitting in a creek in central Iowa. He cradled the fossil in his arms, which was very heavy, and carried it to the farmhouse. The landowners already knew what to do. They wrapped it in plastic and kept it wet and sent an email. And hey, if you're watching the video portion, they even have a picture up on Twitter of exactly, of the fossil. And man, this thing's impressive. I can definitely see why it stood out from all the other rocks and things like that. Now, 30 years ago, the couple who owned the farm came across the remains of another mastodon on their property, which at the time of their discovery were mistakenly identified as belonging to a woolly mammoth. Both mastodons and mammoths belong to the same family, but of course, mammoths are more closely related to elephants. There you go. So, the article goes on for a bit more, but let's just wrap this up by saying that Adrienne said that she's always been on the lookout for more. If you're ever walking around the countryside, you never know what you might find. Keep an eye out and let us know if you find anything unusual. But look at that thing. That's really, really big mastodon jaw. I like that. You think that everything has been discovered, every inch of this country has been walked over, but at the same time, hey, we're still finding things even in our own backyards. Very, very cool. Now, quick article. Let's go ahead, skip on over to, this one caught my attention because I don't know really if there's an ethical concern here. Maybe by the end of the article, we'll find out, but this was strange. New York Police Department, yes, NYPD, they said that they used altered images in its facial recognition system, new documents show. And even in one case, a photo of the actor Woody Harrelson was used to locate a suspect. Who the heck knows? And I think I see where this is going, but hey, let's check this out. saying that a new report from the Georgetown Law Center on Privacy and Technology has uncovered widespread abuse of the New York Police Department's facial recognition story. Yeah, and saying that including image alteration and use of non-suspect images. In one case, officers uploaded a picture of the actor Woody Harrelson based on a witness description of a suspect who looked like Harrelson. I would hope that in that case, Woody Harrelson had an alibi and was cleared before they used his photo in facial recognition. Saying that the search produced a match, and the match suspect was later arrested for petty larceny. Saying, quote, "The stakes are too high in criminal investigation to rely on unreliable or wrong inputs. Unfortunately, police departments' reliance on questionable probe photos appears all too common." So before we go any further, it looks like this is the issue where they would get an eyewitness description saying that, hey, let's just use myself. It was a white male, mid to late 20s, brown hair, brown eyes, and perfectly cherub face. Thank you. I know, with some facial hair and in a just absolutely adorable button nose. All of those come together, and let's say they don't have a perfect match, for that with any kind of facial recognition, but they can take someone else that fits that description, put that into the system, and with a little bit of alterations to someone else's image, out would potentially pop my face or a dozen other faces that could be close enough that they could be identified as this person. That's the problem. They aren't using images that they have captured of the criminals. Rather, they are taking facsimiles or people who are close enough to the descriptions and hopefully getting a hit, which is not how facial recognition is meant to be used. The article continues, in more complex cases, image editing software can be used to manipulate photos to create a higher chance of an affirmative match. One training presentation recommends the removal of facial expression technique, in which an open-mouthed subject is edited into a neutral mugshot expression. Crucially, this can mean pasting in stock images of eyes or lips, which can affect the matching algorithm in unpredictable ways. It really reminds me of the instance with the UK and their facial recognition, where they returned a false positive like 98% of the time, but law enforcement still used it as a way to kind of bring people in for questioning, because even though the system was 98% false positive, they felt it was still a lead that they didn't have before. And it looks like they're, still working on it. And you can see here, if you're watching the video portion, you can see an image here where the original image is of a person with his mouth open, obviously talking or screaming or yelling or something. And then they alter it, they change the orientation a bit. They, kind of put it upright, and then they close the mouth. Maybe they use stock photos. Maybe they use another photo of another gentleman that looks kind of like him. And then potentially they match it with someone else who's already in the database. But hey, all it says is a possible match, not an actual match, which is a problem. So with that said, an NYPD representative did not dispute any of the specific claims in the report, but emphasized the investigation value of facial recognition, saying that the NYPD constantly reassesses our existing procedures and in line with that are in the process of reviewing our existing facial recognition protocol. No one has ever been arrested on the basis of facial recognition match alone, and as with any lead, further investigation is always needed to develop probable cause. So essentially they're saying, we've never arrested anyone strictly on altering their image and potentially getting a match by changing the picture that we have, but it's just another piece of the puzzle. This kind of technology, like so many other pieces of technology that we talk about nowadays, is just not ready for the prime time, but we're finding it's being used more and more in just irresponsible ways. Amazon came under fire in 2018 for marketing a cloud-based facial recognition service to cities and police departments. Despite concerns over privacy and racial bias, Amazon continues to offer the service despite criticism from AI researchers as well as shareholders and employees on Amazon. Microsoft offers a similar service, though it's Azure cloud hosting system called Face API. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and, just kind of end the article here. You can read more of it on our website, but there you go. It's a scary time. And again, it's not just like, hey, we have a photo of a suspect that we believe committed X crime. It's that someone described him. It looked like this. We changed a photo that we have, and we made it look closer to this person that we think it might be. Almost seems like evidence tampering. But hey, in the meantime, we'll be right back. More computer and technology news right after this. Everyone, stay tuned. And again, no live show Monday. Everyone, we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour, and thank you, listener, for, of course, correcting me. I'm an idiot. So not this Monday. It's not Memorial Day. The 27th is Memorial Day. I have 1 week off. So next Monday we will be here indeed, but then the following week, which actually probably works out better because we get a week to kind of warn everyone. The 27th, Computer America will not have a live show. We'll have a repeat. And in the meantime, we will have a full week of Computer America indeed. Thank you. Sorry for that correction. But I digress. We continue on computer and technology news. And yeah, hey, we're, just finished this one about NYPD, unfortunately, really kind of misusing facial recognition technology, which is not perfect and is not really reliable. But at the same time, they're, I guess, kind of twisting their images enough to, I guess, kind of hopefully catch people. Seems really, really imperfect, but I'm sure as NYPD would kind of come back against those claims, I'm sure that they would say something to the tune of, hey, any tool is better than no tool. It's just one and part of many different strategies that we use to identify people. yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one. Now, with that being said, we continue on. And by the way, if you missed any part of our show so far, be it any of these news stories or any of our past shows, check out computeramerica.com, our podcast section. Wherever podcasts are heard, you can, of course, hear Computer America right there. It's today's show in its entirety rebroadcast as a podcast. Take us with you. Now, we continue on. Lots of different stories. Why don't we go ahead and talk about... we could go on a facial recognition kick, and this is something that we didn't really cover when it happened a day or two ago, but we should probably mention it. And this is in the same, I guess, kind of vein, where facial recognition, as we just said, it's not perfect. We see NYPD kind of twisting it to serve their purposes. And now on the other side of the country, if you didn't hear a couple of days ago, San Francisco is the first city in the country to ban facial recognition by law enforcement or government agencies. That's right. Regardless of how you feel, it's probably the right move. So let's see the justification and what this gentleman is really angling for, because obviously it seems here he would not be the one to, or he is not satisfied with the one city. So let's go ahead. As San Francisco's Board of Supervisors prepare to vote Tuesday on an ordinance forbidding city agencies to use facial recognition technology, some proponents of the measure were uncertain if they had the necessary support. Two of the legislators were for it and had to call in sick. Well, that's unfortunate. But Brian Hoffer, a paralegal who had drafted the ordinance, seemed unfazed. Sitting in the back of the chamber, he wrote and rewrote a draft of a post for Twitter in which he would proclaim victory after the ban passed. Mr. Hoffer, 41, had reason to feel confident. Over the past 5 years, he drafted 26 privacy laws for the city and counties in California. All were approved, 23 unanimously. This guy knows how to draft privacy legislation. That's good. And he had seen enough of the machinations of decision-making to be certain that this would go through. Saying that, quote, he's just omnipresent and very effective. A legislative aide told the reporter, the city supervisor who sponsored the facial recognition ban, he's great at bringing down the volume and making it a level-headed conversation. So Mr. Hoffer is little known outside of California, but his anti-surveillance measures have been making waves in the state. He successfully pressed Northern California cities of Richmond and Berkeley, which have sanctuary policies, to end their contracts with tech companies like Amazon that do business with immigration and customs enforcement. And in Santa Clara County, in Oakland and elsewhere, he has secured transparency laws around surveillance technologies. This seems like someone that we should probably get on the show. I wonder if he has a website, but I digress. His campaigns are just beginning. He's pushing for more facial recognition bans. He has 2 additional privacy proposals winding their way through the state's legislative process, focused on reining in surveillance technology, and he is establishing a nonprofit, Secure Justice, that will grapple with technology issues. And here we go, a quote, and then we're going to kind of wrap this up. But very, very interesting topic. A quote from him, quote, "My primary concern is when the state abuses its power, and because of the age we live in, it's probably going to occur through technology and data mining. That's where I see the most potential harm occurring, so I just want to jump right in." Good stuff. So obviously this article goes on for a bit from the New York Times. Obviously, very, very well written. But yeah, he's the gentleman who's in charge of course, getting the first city in the country to ban facial recognition from law enforcement. I think I'm not going to pass judgment whether this is a good or bad thing, but it really goes to show that this conversation is being had in San Francisco, and I'm sure New York City, as we just talked about. A lot of these large cities are going to start to wonder, hey, can we use these? And now the conversation should shift to, should we use this kind of technology? There we go. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead, leave that one there, move on to another story, but hey, very, very cool. Let's talk about, all right, how about this one? I have no idea what this is about because I live in America, and the kilogram, I know that it's 2.2 pounds to 1 kilogram. That's about all I know about it, but check out this article. On May 20th, so just a couple of days, the kilogram will no longer be defined by a lump in France. Didn't know it was. Saying that the long anticipated change goes into effect May 20th. So on May 20th, the World Metrology Day, so I guess the day that we commemorate the, metrology. I have no idea what metrology is. Oh, well, whatever. The scientific community will officially change the definition of the kilogram. For 130 years, the kilo has been defined by a physical cylinder of platinum iridium alloy known as Le Grand K, and stored in a vault outside of Paris. But every time scientists handled it, the cylinder lost atoms. That's right, an estimated 50 micrograms over its lifetime. Oh goodness, could you imagine? Just further proof that for 130 years ago, if you were to put, let's say, a kilogram of rice and a kilogram of rice today, you would have 50 micrograms less of rice. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called deflation. Horrible. And by the way, thank you, chatter in the chat room. Metrology, noun, metrology, the scientific study of measurements. I should have known that. So there we go. World Metrology Day, the day that everyone celebrates measurements, and we officially are moving away from the physical cylinder of platinum iridium alloy. Let's see if we can find a picture of it while we talk about this. So there you go. Let's see. So images and... hey, check it out. There it is. Le Grand K. For those of you who don't know what it is, that's what we're talking about. So beginning Monday, the kilogram will officially be measured by a physical constant known as the Planck constant. The change has been years in the making, and on May 20th, 3 other units of measurement, the ampere, the Kelvin, and the mole, will also get new definitions. Those proved to be easier to update as they weren't based on a Victorian-era lump in France. I don't know. The cylinder looks really cool. I don't know why they're moving away from it. Anyways, saying that the kilo will now correspond to the mass of an exact number of protons of particles of light of a particular wavelength. With this change, the kilo will be defined in terms of seconds and the meter, which are physical constants and therefore more reliable than a man-made object. And really, when you think about, just the accuracy to which the scientific community has to hold itself to, when you talk about the kilogram, are you talking about the kilogram of 130 years ago or the kilogram of today? And, for very, very precise and accurate readings, 50 micrograms might make all the difference. So looks like they're, probably reverting things back to, again, a constant, and I would bet when the kilogram was first established. But saying that they have a quote here from Terry Quinn, who is the Emeritus Director of the International Bureau of Weights and Measurements. What a prestigious title. Saying, quote, "This is the most important decision that the Bureau has made in maybe 100 years, which may be a slight exaggeration, but at least since 1960, when they adopted the International System of Units." Very cool. Honestly, it's... it probably doesn't affect a lot of people, but at the same time, it's one of those things that's like, hey, we're changing something from 130 years ago, one of these constants, and now we are looking at a new constant. So, pretty neat. Okay, there you go. So May 20th, reset your scales. Everyone, you are going to be regaining your micrograms, and hey, everyone just got a little bit heavier who weighs themselves in kilograms. Now, with that article said, let's move on to, we have some pretty deep ones here. How about this one? This one is interesting, scary, and scientific all at the same time, which science can be scary. Who knew? Genetic self-experimenting biohacker under investigation by health officials. And when you hear the term biohacker, we've actually heard that on the show, and we've had, kind of quote unquote biohackers here on the program before. But what they were doing was probably child's play compared to CRISPR and what this gentleman was doing to himself. Biohackers, at least in Silicon Valley and in the tech industry, they have advertised themselves as essentially drink this Soylent protein, or drink this, eat that, eat this, essentially boosting productivity, going on an all liquid diet. It's all soy, natural based, that kind of thing. Like biohackers, but they're doing it by changing how people get their nutrients. We're not just talking about diets here. We're talking about full-blown genetic altering in his own body, which in a lot of places would be, unfortunately, kind of self-harm. Now he's under investigation. Prominent genetic biohacker Josiah Zahner is under investigation by California state officials for practicing medicine without a license. Bad stuff. Zahner has a background in biophysics and runs a company called The Odin, which sells do-it-yourself genetic engineering kits and other lab equipment intended for use outside of scientific laboratories. The kits and tools are intended to allow lay users to genetically modify bacteria, yeast, animals, and even humans. It sounds like, so he's not selling anything illegal. It's just what you can do with the kits turns out can be slightly illegal. And again, only slightly illegal. So with that being said, the human that Zane's products are best known for trying to modify is Zahner himself. In fact, the Brazen CEO has a long history of self-experimentation. In 2016, he attempted a stomach churning DIY fecal transplant in an airport hotel that moved on to trying to genetically engineer his skin. You hear the words attempting a stomach churning do-it-yourself fecal transplant in an airport hotel, and you think, first of all, airport hotel, probably not the most sanitary conditions to do something like that. And then second of all, hearing that a fecal transplant would happen in an airport hotel, you've ever stayed in one, you're like, yeah, I could have probably guessed that was happening. That probably happened. In this place that I have to now sleep and put my bags and rest my head on this pillow. So just think about that next time you stay at a hotel. And again, he tried to genetically engineer his skin. But he is perhaps best known for the alcohol-fueled stunt where he live-streamed in October 2017. Between swigs of scotch, he injected himself in the arm with what he said was the DNA for genetic engineering tool CRISPR. The stated goal was for CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing machinery to snip and disable Zahner's myostatin gene, which is involved with the muscle growth regulation before and after birth. Disabling the gene could leave him with beefy muscle growth. And this is something that I really want to harp on. Gene and gene editing is so far from being a reality. When it comes to a person's height, weight, predispositions to certain diseases, it's not just a singular gene. It's not just an on-off switch that we can hit. Even all that junk DNA after we've sequenced the human genome, even a lot of that junk DNA is still in some roundabout way that we still don't understand responsible for every little thing that we are. It's not just one gene that he can edit and suddenly he becomes a bulky Hulk-like monster, but he still tested it on himself. But Zahner admitted, the article continues, and outside experts agreed that the experiment was unlikely to work. It's unclear if the genetic material made its way into Zane's cells, and if so, how many and to what effect. Most of the research in myostatin has been done in animals. In an interview with BuzzFeed directly after the October 2017 muscle editing stunt, Zaner told the outlet, "I want to live in a world where people get drunk. Instead of giving themselves tattoos, they're like, quote, I'm drunk, I'm going to CRISPR myself," end quotes. This is a guy that seems to know just enough to hurt himself, but yet doesn't know enough to actually pull any of this off. But in February 2018, he took a sober stance. Other biohackers had begun performing similar self-injection stunts, and Zaner expressed regret, saying, quote, "Honestly, I kind of blame myself. There's no doubt that in my mind that somebody is going to end up hurt eventually." Still, Zaner has continued to sell his DIY genetic engineering kits. What a weird thing. Now, the biohacking community wasn't alone in taking notice of Zaner's antics, saying that the FDA wrote, quote, "The FDA is aware that the gene editing therapy products intended for self-administration and do-it-yourself kits to produce gene therapies for self-administration are being made available to the public. The sale of these products is against the law. FDA is concerned about the safety risk involved." Yeah, so not only is it dangerous and probably useless, but at the same time also illegal. Wow, this is really hitting all the checkboxes. Now, officials in Zaner's home state of California have also taken notice. May 8th, so just about a week ago, Zaner posted to his Instagram account on Wednesday, "Health investigators at the Department of Consumer Affairs are following up on a complaint alleging Zaner is practicing medicine without a license. The investigators are now at the point in our review where we would like to discuss the matter with you." That's what the letter wrote. It requested an interview and noted that we will be discussing your business. Man, am not envious of that. And hey, I don't think he grew his muscles either, so he can't muscle his way out of this one. On the social media site, Zaner responded saying that the investigation stemmed from his genetic self-experimentation, showing people how to access publicly available knowledge. They have a quote here saying, quote, "The truth is that I have never given anyone anything to inject or use, never sold any material meant to treat a disease, and never claimed to provide treatment or cures because I knew this day would come. The messed up part about this," and he didn't say in as many words, but I can't say that word on the air. "The messed up part is that so many people are dying, not because of me, but because of the FDA and government refuses to allow people access to cutting edge treatments, or in some cases, even basic healthcare, yet I am the one threatened with jail." That is the biggest case of whataboutism I have seen in quite some time, where, hey, I'm doing something dangerous, but what about you guys? What about what you're doing? Whataboutism has no place in this argument or in this conversation. It's messed up that he's trying to point the finger back at the FDA for having concerns that him and his company are selling the materials to really either one of two things. Give people false hope in thinking that they could CRISPR or, use the CRISPR technology to cure their own diseases, which has yet to be shown in anyone anywhere, or by potentially even hurting themselves by injecting themselves with something that they really shouldn't be messing with. Now, practicing medicine without a valid license in California comes with a $10,000 penalty or 3 years, and 3 years in prison. Saying that, and he ended the article by saying, quote, "Yeah, I need to find a lawyer." In a comment to Ars, Zaner added only, "I can't believe the government is spending time investigating me when they could help leak spoilers to Rick and Morty season 4. Again, this just seems like a gentleman who knows just enough to not know anything, but still hurt himself and potentially others. And I think when you start a business around the idea that you can sell these products and it's in any way marketable, like it's not just like a research paper, it's not just information spreading. When you're actually trying to sell a product saying that, hey, you can genetically modify yourself, here's the kit, all you have to do is give me some money. I don't know if that constitutes the level of practicing medicine, but if nothing else, it's highly misleading. So if the FDA didn't get involved, I would imagine the FTC would get involved. This is just a horrible idea all around. And let alone the fact that he sat there on a live stream getting drunk and injecting his muscles with a way to make them bulky. Just so weird. So weird. But there you go. There's that article. Very, very interesting. That was article number 8. For anyone out there keeping track, I think we have time for just about 1, maybe 2 more articles if we're quick about this. And, actually, very, very quick. Speaking of Amazon, big, kind of news in the market today. Amazon is getting into the food delivery business. That's right. Amazon is taking a slice of Europe's food delivery market after the U.S. e-commerce giant led a $575 million investment into Deliveroo. First reported by The Sky yesterday, Series G round was confirmed in early UK morning, announced from Deliveroo, which said that existing backers, including T. Rowe Price, Fidelity Management, and research company and Green Oaks, the deal would take Deliveroo to over $1.5 billion raised, where the company is valued at more than $2 billion following its previous raise in 2017. So essentially, this thing will operate in 14 countries: UK, France, Germany, Spain, outside of Europe, including Singapore, Taiwan, Australia, and the United Arab Emirates. All those markets contain about 80,000 restaurants with a fleet of about 60,000 delivery people and 2,500 permanent employees. In the US, we are pretty spoiled with the idea of Uber Eats. I think Lyft has a competing offer. We have things like Grubhub and so many other ways to deliver food to our doorstep. It looks like the rest of the world is now going to get the same treatment. And Amazon is looking to take a bite out of it. They want to make sure that as people are getting either lazier or they demand more convenience, and people are going to... employees are looking for that gig economy, where you just kind of pick up a phone, sign up for the app, and start your job right there on the spot. Amazon wants to make sure that they are part of it. And of course, this is going to take this is going to give competition to Uber Eats. They have a quote here: Amazon has been an inspiration for me personally and to the company. We look forward to working with such a customer-obsessed organization. That was the CEO and founder, Will Shu, in a statement. Shu said that the new money will go toward initiatives that include growing the London-based engineering team, expanding its reach, and focusing on new products, including cloud kitchens that can cook up delivery meals faster with more and are more cost efficient. Pretty interesting. So it sounds like they're going to take a chunk of this money and see if they can build essentially restaurants that you will never step foot into, but rather, or even at the same point, if they can make almost kind of like pseudo distribution centers, but instead of delivering, something from an Amazon warehouse, you would get, let's say you would want a burger from insert chain restaurant A here. Or if you want a taco from insert chain restaurant B here. Instead of having, multiple restaurants in multiple places, what if all of the restaurants had all their chefs kind of working in one central location, and they would be able to deliver to your door without having the overhead of running a restaurant, foot traffic, that kind of thing, and just having kind of a kitchen to prepare the stuff and deliver it to anywhere you would want. This seems to be the future. Just because you have a restaurant doesn't mean that you'll be serving people at tables in your location. Hey, you may just be delivering food to people at their doorsteps. I'm wondering how far this will go. Obviously, eating out is supposed to be a treat. Dining out is supposed to be an experience, but how much of the experience is really to go out, sit at a restaurant, join family and friends and, sit around a table, and how much of it is, hey, I just want tasty food, and I want tasty food in my home, super conveniently, that's the end goal. Having to go to a restaurant was a necessary evil. Let's just eat at home. Now it's the question of, what's the important part of eating at a restaurant? I'm curious to see what that ends up being. We really don't have that much more time. We have some more articles that we didn't get into include the FCC wants phone companies to start blocking robocalls by default. So hopefully that that can do something about the robocalls that we all receive on a daily basis. Microsoft and Sony are forming a cloud gaming and AI partnership. That's a huge move from two large players in the market. U.S. carriers say that they want cell phone companies to stop selling location data. Very important. U.S. carriers say that they have stopped selling location data. Whether or not that's true, and of course, don't forget, apps themselves sell location data, so it's not the end-all be-all. And all that and more, ladies and gentlemen, we're just flat out of time. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Computer America. A lot of great stories. And one last time, May 27th, Memorial Day, Computer America will not have a live show, but we'll be back Tuesday, May 28th. Next week, though, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, we'll be here with a lot of great guests, a lot of great, computer technology news, and more. Everyone, catch you there next time. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.